you put on sort of brave-faced stoicism through treatment. The treatment's done.
Yes.
So I can crack on and get back to normal again, but actually the phase afterwards is really, is a really difficult journey.
Queen Camilla loses it after Kate wears Diana's precious heirloom. It was supposed to be a glamorous night at Buckingham Palace, one of those rare events where royalty meets diplomacy, with sparkling chandeliers, fine dining, and carefully curated guest lists. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped into the grand hall. Dressed in a flowing Jenny Packham gown that shimmered under the lights, she moved with the calm confidence that's become her signature. But it wasn't just the gown, it was the crown, the piece sitting gracefully on her head, that caused whispers to ripple through the room. It wasn't her usual tiara. It wasn't something borrowed from the late Queen Elizabeth's favorite collection either. This time, Catherine wore the Strathmore Rose tiara, a piece not seen in public for nearly a century. A delicate floral design once worn by the Queen Mother herself when she was still Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. This tiara hadn't been seen on a royal head in over 90 years, and its sudden reappearance was no coincidence. The tiara's history is deeply personal, gifted to the Queen Mother by her father on her wedding day in 1923. It represents not just royal heritage, but a direct connection to the past women of the House of Windsor. For Catherine to choose this piece at this particular moment, that spoke volumes. And that's when the tone of the room shifted. It wasn't just admiration anymore. It was a quiet signal that Catherine is stepping into her future role, not just as a modern royal, but as someone fully embracing the family's legacy. What caught everyone off guard wasn't just her grace, it was what she wore on her head.
I love spending time outside, and that has stuck with me for my whole life.
As Catherine moved further into the grand ballroom, it became clear that this wasn't just another royal appearance. It was something deeper. The glimmering tiara resting atop her styled hair wasn't the Strathmore Rose as previously believed. It was Princess Diana's iconic lover's knot tiara. And the moment people recognized it, the atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. This wasn't just a crown. It was the crown, the one most associated with Diana during her years as Princess of Wales. The same one she wore on countless state occasions, and the same one that seemed to carry both elegance and emotional weight every time she appeared in public. Originally crafted for Queen Mary in 1914, and later passed down through the generations, the lover's knot tiara was eventually gifted to Diana upon her marriage to Prince Charles. With its rows of diamonds and drop pearls, it's visually stunning, but what made it unforgettable was how often Diana wore it during the toughest years of her royal life. It became a symbol of grace under pressure. Now, seeing that same tiara on Catherine's head brought those memories flooding back for royal watchers and insiders alike. But it wasn't just the guests who noticed. When Queen Camilla entered the room shortly afterward, her expression told its own story. Camilla's entrance was poised but visibly tense. Her smile appeared frozen, her eyes didn't linger on Catherine, and to those watching closely, it seemed she purposefully looked away. Her lips tightened ever so slightly and her shoulders stiffened. It was subtle, but unmistakable. This wasn't just another tiara moment, it was one filled with emotional complexity. But what made this simple piece of jewelry so emotionally explosive? Let's break down the silent message behind the sparkle.
But it's a penalty of the job that
Yes.
you can't behave as you used to.
I think that's probably just as well, if you knew how I used to behave.
But did you know what you were taking on in that kind of sense? Not being able to just walk down the street?
No, I didn't.
Diana's legacy never really left the royal family. Her memory still lingers. Through causes she championed, the public's love for her, and the deep loyalty people feel toward her story. But if there's one object that encapsulates her role, her struggles, and her strength, it's the lover's knot tiara. And Catherine wearing it now is no small decision. It's a clear nod to Diana, but it's also a powerful reminder of everything Diana endured. This tiara isn't just about royal beauty, it's about resilience, pain, and unfinished business, which is why Camilla's reaction made so much sense. Seeing Catherine in that tiara wasn't just a memory of the past, it was like watching Diana's presence return to the heart of the monarchy. It was a quiet confrontation, a visual echo of everything Camilla may want to move past, but never fully can. done because the Lover's Knot tiara carries emotional baggage. It's tied to one of the most heartbreaking lines ever spoken by a royal. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. That moment, spoken by Diana during her 1995 BBC interview, exposed the emotional wounds she carried for years. The public never forgot it, and neither did the monarchy. Now, decades later, the woman who holds Diana's old title walks into the same halls wearing Diana's most iconic tiara. It's not just fashion, it's a continuation of Diana's legacy through Catherine, but this wasn't just an emotional blow, it was a royal power play, and it raised a very uncomfortable question behind palace doors. After Queen Elizabeth II passed away, a lot changed within the royal family, not just in public titles or ceremonial duties, but behind the scenes too. One of the lesser-known shifts involved the royal jewelry vault. With Her Majesty gone, Camilla, now Queen Consort, was expected to have first choice when it came to many of the historic jewels. So how did Catherine, the Princess of Wales, end up with Princess Diana's Lover's Knot tiara, a piece so deeply tied to royal tradition and emotional weight? Insiders say this wasn't a last-minute pick or a surprise. In fact, the Lover's Knot had already been quietly promised to Catherine long before the Queen passed. This decision came from the strong, respectful relationship Catherine had built with Queen Elizabeth over the years. Unlike others who entered the royal family with controversy or fanfare, Catherine approached her role with quiet dedication. She took her time, she learned royal protocol, she didn't rush into the spotlight, and the late Queen noticed. Royal sources have long hinted that Elizabeth saw Catherine not just as a future Queen Consort, but as someone who could uphold the family's values while slowly modernizing its image. That kind of trust isn't given easily, but Catherine earned it. So when discussions were made about who would wear what, especially when it came to sentimental pieces, the Lover's Knot tiara was already mentally passed down. Camilla, who had access to nearly every other royal tiara, didn't contest it. She couldn't. The symbolism was too strong and the emotional ties were too deep. When pictures of Catherine wearing the tiara hit the internet, the reaction was instant. People weren't just admiring the sparkle, they were making the connection. Diana's iconic tiara on the new Princess of Wales, it hit differently. The comparison flooded social media, not in a negative way, but with a sense of continuity. For many, it felt like Diana's legacy wasn't being replaced, it was being honored. And while the public showered Catherine with praise, Camilla made a silent move of her own.
We lived to that rather nice carefree world.
At the next formal engagement, all eyes were once again on the royal family, but this time, it was Queen Camilla who appeared first on the red carpet. Her choice of headwear wasn't subtle. Camilla wore Queen Elizabeth's favorite tiara, the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a piece Elizabeth wore countless times throughout her reign. For decades, it had been one of the most recognized royal jewels in the world. The tiara itself is striking, tall, with diamond festoons and elaborate scrollwork. It commands attention. And with Camilla pairing it with a regal white gown, the message seemed clear. She wanted to remind everyone who she was, the Queen. But despite the diamonds, the smile, and the press coverage, something felt off. Camilla's moment didn't land the way Catherine's did. Even with a tiara that held decades of royal significance, the emotional impact just wasn't there. The picture showed a woman trying to step into a role, but next to Catherine's effortless presence, it felt forced. Observers noted the difference. Catherine didn't need to try. She didn't chase attention. She simply wore her role like a second skin, calm, confident, and naturally connected to the public's memory of Diana. Camilla, on the other hand, looked like she was chasing acceptance, affection, or maybe just a place in a royal narrative already shaped by stronger figures. The difference couldn't have been more clear, and while Catherine shined without effort, the world quietly noticed who truly carried Diana's legacy forward.
And I think there will be for quite some years to come too, because this really isn't something that we're going to be able to change quickly and overnight. It's going to take, generations, and I'm keen to support this for the long term.
The tiara wasn't just a piece of jewelry that night, it became a symbol. It's a quiet but powerful sign of who the public truly connects with inside the royal family. Catherine didn't have to make speeches, she didn't post messages or claim any spotlight. All she did was walk in, wearing the same tiara Diana once wore, with calm grace and quiet confidence. and that was enough. What made it hit even harder was how natural it looked on her. She didn't wear it for attention, it looked like it belonged to her. In that moment, the lover's knot wasn't just a hand-me-down. It was a link to history, a soft reminder that Diana's influence didn't fade with time. It evolved, and it lives on through Catherine. This is the kind of strength that doesn't come from power, it comes from presence. Catherine's bond with the public has been built over years, not through controversy, but through consistency, respect, and real connection. That kind of influence doesn't need headlines. Camilla, despite being queen consort, still faces a different reality. The public has never fully embraced her. That resistance didn't start with her coronation, it began decades ago, during the most turbulent chapter of royal history. And even now, it lingers. Her effort to reclaim attention with Queen Elizabeth's favorite tiara was clear. But what many noticed was the emotional distance. The jewels were there, the history was there, but the connection wasn't. In contrast, Catherine didn't have to try. She carried the moment by simply being herself. The tiara didn't define her. Instead, she gave it new meaning, a quiet tribute, wrapped in dignity. But behind all the sparkle, this moment revealed something deeper, a royal truth that no crown can cover up. In the royal world, tradition decides titles, protocol decides who wears what, but legacy? That's something the people choose. Camilla may carry the crown, she may sit beside the king, but the emotional spotlight, the one that truly matters, has slowly shifted to Catherine. That night, it wasn't about diamonds or dresses. It was about something deeper, a quiet message, a sense of continuity. The feeling that Diana's story didn't end, it simply found a new voice. And Catherine, she doesn't have to say much. Her actions, her presence, and the way she carries her role say everything. She honors the past by respecting it. Camilla may have the official title of queen, but Catherine has something just as powerful: the public's trust, admiration, and emotional loyalty. Was Catherine's move a quiet tribute or a subtle power statement? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more royal updates.